Week 9 of the 2025 NFL season might have been the best week yet. We're a ton of really good games, and of course, it's still not clear who the actual best teams are yet. Last week, I went 10-4, bringing my total record on the season to 85-49-1. This video, I'll be predicting every Week 10 game with score predictions. If you enjoyed this video, then please drop a like and subscribe if you're new. Subscribe takes just a second, and it really helps me out. Thank you, and let's get started. Atlanta Falcons versus Indianapolis Colts. I still have absolutely no idea what to do with the Falcons. 1 week after being blown up by the Dolphins, they go into New England and lose by a single point. Is this team good or is this team bad? I think the answer to that question is simply yes. They are moving on to their third kicker after a missed extra point caused them to lose last week, but on the bright side, Michael Penix continues to develop and Drake London is absolutely insane. The Colts lost their first game since week 3 and Daniel Jones reverted back to his old giant self, committing 5 turnovers in a game the Colts lost by 7. Jonathan Taylor also looked human for the first time this season, so that didn't help. I don't think Jones is just going to be ass for the rest of the year, but it is something to monitor. That being said, I'm taking Indianapolis 24-19. I think as long as they can run the ball consistently, which shouldn't be too hard, they can get this win. Oh, and acquiring Sauce Gardner should help just a little bit. Cleveland Browns versus New York Jets. God, this game is depressing. The Jets no longer have a defense after trading away Sauce Gardner and Quinnen Williams, and the Browns, well...
We're the Cleveland Browns!
It was such a relief not having to watch these two last week. This game might actually be worse than the Pee Wee football dog shit we got on Thursday night, but I'll take Cleveland 17-13 because unlike the Jets, they have at least one player on defense that won't be working at eBay in a few years. New Orleans Saints versus Carolina Panthers. Okay, it's time to start looking at the Panthers as a dark horse playoff team. Yeah, it was ugly, but they beat the Green Bay Packers and are currently sitting just half a game away from the playoffs. The offense was basically just Rico Dowdle and friends, but their defense had the best game of the season, holding a strong Green Bay offense to just 13 points. The Saints are definitely not a dark horse playoff team. They got boat raced by the Rams last week, which was expected. Tyler Shough looked fine in his debut, but didn't really do anything special, and the offense is way less explosive now that Rashid Shaheed is out of the building. I'm taking Carolina to get a big 28-17 win. With the way their defense has been playing, all they need is for the offense to be competent and they should run away with this game. New England Patriots versus Tampa Bay Buccaneers. It's so unfair, man. You have all of these teams that spend their entire life trying to find franchise quarterbacks, and the Patriots, after dominating the league for 20 years with Tom, just get to have another one after only 5 seasons. What Drake May has been doing this year is nothing short of insane, and I wouldn't blame you if you called him the MVP right now. Also, it can't be understated how good of a job Mike Vrabel has done with this team. They aren't on a 6-game winning streak for no reason, but they do have their toughest test yet in the Tampa Bay Bucs, who outside of that one Lions game have been red hot all year. They were on bye last week, but the week before blew out the Saints. Their defense really shined in that game, coming away with 4 turnovers, one of which resulted in a touchdown. Tampa is at home though, and I think I'm going to ride with the home team 31-30. I do think the deciding factor of this game is who's going to be able to run the ball better, and the Bucs have a slight advantage in that, so I think they ultimately come out with a huge win. Baltimore Ravens versus Minnesota Vikings. This is another huge toss-up. The Vikings seem absolutely dead after the Week 8 loss to the Chargers, but JJ McCarthy came back from injury and helped lead Minnesota to a huge road win over the Lions, one of the biggest upsets this season. McCarthy was far from perfect, but he did score 3 touchdowns and made some really big throws in key moments. Plus, the defense had one of their better games this season, completely shutting down the Lions' run game, which is something the Ravens rely on. Speaking of Baltimore, they blew out the Dolphins last week. Lamar Jackson came back and balled out, throwing 4 touchdown passes, including 2 to Mark Andrews. Like I said, this game is really tough to predict, but I'm taking Minnesota 24-23. The reason? Baltimore's pass rush has been one of the worst in the league this season, and with the Vikings O-line finally fully healthy, McCarthy should have lots of time to pick apart this battered Ravens defense. It will be tough, but Minnesota ekes one out. Buffalo Bills versus Miami Dolphins. I've run out of energy to bash the Dolphins anymore. Mike McDaniel sucks, Tua sucks, the defense sucks, everything sucks. Only being able to score 6 points against the Ravens defense that has allowed 30 plus in half their games this season is diabolically bad. Fire everyone, this season is over. The Bills got themselves a massive win over the Chiefs, with both Josh Allen and James Cook playing great. Now, of course, every time the Bills beat the Chiefs in the regular season, they seem to lose to them in the playoffs, but we'll worry about that when we get there. The Bills definitely are losing this game though. Final score 31-16. I don't think this needs much analysis. One team is great and the other is the Miami Dolphins. Falcons. New York Giants versus Chicago Bears. Well, they may not have a defense anymore, but god damn it did Caleb Williams and the offense look good last week. Now granted, it was the Bengals defense they were up against, but Caleb scored 4 total touchdowns, Colson Levin had his breakout game, and Ben Johnson was in his bag, dialing up trick plays all over the place. Now we just need to see consistency from this offense, especially Caleb. I don't want to see him go out there and put up 180 yards in a pick, especially against a Giants team that is spiraling out of control. Things looked bright after they beat the Eagles back in week 6, but with all their injuries now, everything looks bad. They got wrecked by the 49ers in a game that wasn't nearly as close as the final score indicated. Jackson Dart did all he could, but he has just nothing to work with. I'll take Chicago 30-24. Again, this is all about seeing consistent performances from Caleb, and this is a prime opportunity to do just that. Jacksonville Jaguars versus Houston Texans. Speaking of teams that are spiraling, the Texans are not having the year they hoped for. Things seem to be looking up after winning 3 of their last 4 games, but last week they lost an ugly one to the Broncos in a game where CJ Stroud suffered a concussion that's going to keep him out for this one. With their record being 3-5, the playoffs do not look likely, especially if they lose here. The Jags got a narrow overtime win over the Raiders, which sounds bad, but to be fair, this was the Raiders with Brock Bowers, so things are a little different when he's factored in. But the offense looked good even without Travis Hunter, and with Davis Mills starting for Houston, I'll take Jacksonville 20-16. The Texans defense will keep this game close, but I just can't see the giraffe stretching his way to a victory. Arizona Cardinals versus Seattle Seahawks. I thought I'd never see the day. Kyler Murray has officially been benched for Jacoby Brissett, but it's the right call. This offense has looked way better under Brissett than Kyler, especially Marvin Harrison. They got a big win over the Cowboys last Monday, where Brissett had another good game and MHJ finished with a career-high 7 receptions, along with 96 yards and a touchdown, by far his best game of the season. The defense also contained a high-powered Cowboys offense to just 10 points, which is very impressive. However, the Seahawks are a new kind of test, as they had a dominant win over the Commanders in a game where Sam Darnold had a perfect first half, literally. Jason continues to dominate, and this defense keeps getting better and better. This could be a surprisingly close game, but I'm taking Seattle 28-23. The Cardinals will fight hard, but the Seahawks are just a much better team. Detroit Lions versus Washington Commanders. And there goes the Commanders season. They fell to 3-6 last week, and Jaden Daniels suffered a gruesome elbow injury. He might not be out for the season, but I don't see any point in bringing him back. The season is done. No reason to risk him suffering a long-time injury that could impact him next year. Just focus on developing your young guys and begin preparations for 2026. The Lions suffered a shocking loss to the Vikings. They couldn't run the ball for shit, and their defense was basically Aiden Hutchinson and nobody else. I'm not worried about the Lions, but with how tight the NFC North is, this game could be very costly down the road. However, I see them getting back on track with a 34-13 win. This team is pissed off, and unfortunately for Marcus Mariota and the Commanders, a pissed off Lions team is probably the scariest thing in the NFL. Los Angeles Rams versus San Francisco 49ers. Okay, I completely understand all the Drake May and Jonathan Taylor MVP talks, but why is Matt Stafford barely getting any hype? He's having arguably the best season of his career at 37 years old. He's 6th in passing yards and 1st in passing touchdowns with 21 to just 2 interceptions. That's an insane ratio. Not to mention he's 2nd in PFF passing grade and 1st in big time throws. Stafford has been on an insane run this season, and it's just incredible what he's doing at his age. It's also incredible what the 49ers are doing. Despite the fact that CMC is sacrificing everyone and everything to keep himself healthy, the 49ers are 6-3 with a real shot at winning this division. Last time these two played, the 49ers got a big upset win, but this time I think the Rams come out on top 30-27. Christian McCaffrey is the entire 49ers team, but the Rams have been containing running backs better than anybody in the league. So if they can contain CMC, they should be able to pull out a tough win. Pittsburgh Steelers versus Los Angeles Chargers. The Chargers really scare me. Not because they barely beat the Titans, yeah, that doesn't look great, but what really scares me is this offensive tackle situation. Joe Alt went down again, this time for the season, meaning the Chargers are trotting out some combination of Trey Pipkins, Bobby Hart, and Trevor Penning, who they just traded for. Every single one of these players are liabilities, and it maybe would be okay if they're going against a normal pass rush, but going against the Steelers, who have 3 really good pass rushers, things aren't going to go well. Pittsburgh dominated the Colts last week on defense, forcing 6 turnovers and overall just having a huge bounce back after a pretty pitiful performance the past few weeks. This one is honestly a no-brainer. I'm taking Pittsburgh 24-21. Justin Herbert is going to have no time to throw, and if the Steelers can get ahead early and force Herbert into passing situations, it's going to be a field day on defense. Philadelphia Eagles versus Green Bay Packers. On paper, the Packers are one of the best teams in the NFC, but then you realize that their 2 losses are to the Panthers and Browns, and suddenly you have questions. Things did not go well for the Packers last week. Jordan Love had those signature "what the hell are you doing" throws, and and the defense could not stop Rico Dowdle. With the Lions losing, this was a great opportunity to get a sizable lead in the NFC North, but instead the gap between all four teams is tighter than ever. The Eagles are not only atop their division, but also atop the whole NFC, coming off a bye week and before that a big win over the Giants. Jalen Hurts once again played well, and Saquon Barkley finally had that breakthrough game we were all looking for. This game could be huge in determining playoff seeding, but I'll take the Eagles on the road 28-24. The Packers have a tendency to play down but also up to competition, so I think they keep things close, but I just don't see them getting it done against a much more complete team. But that's it. Those are my Week 10 NFL predictions. Where do you agree? Where do you disagree? Comment below. If you enjoyed this video, then please drop a like and subscribe if you're new, and that's it for me. See ya!